so I don't want to.
I don't think the dash cam was working, but this guy made one of the most unsafe passes that I've ever seen.
Tenets I have of songwriting is this.
That was just ridiculous.
Completes the song.
Yes, I've heard you say that.
Which means you sing whatever lyric you know, and that's what the song is.
He's going to be upset when you got to slow down to 60 going through this small town. He is just riding this guy's ass, too. I don't know where he thinks he's going, but... had that idiot BMW driver that was in front of him and saw him pass. And the smoke that came out of that shitbox BMW hatchback, wagon is the word I'm looking for. I bet you this guy goes now. Well, he's got a signal on at least. At least he's passing this time where there's not traffic directly in front of him. Man, that was one of the most unsafe passes I've ever seen. Like, it was literally, car was right there and he decides he's gonna pass. And he's got to dart right back in, nearly cutting me off.
You've already written it.
That's right.
And I'm going to come up with my new meaning.
That's right.
And sometimes...
And maybe your new lyrics.
This guy's going the speed limit.
Sometimes...
Like, to get somebody who's going the speed limit on this road, you get behind them and you go, hey, thank you for going the speed limit.
What I'm saying is,
you sit
this
back
is a
and
very
relax.
profound thought. I had Steve Miller on.
Oh, Steve Miller. You know what? Just not that I want to go into this subject, but in terms of the philosophers of rock and roll, which has been in the news of late,
Yeah, right.
because of
Jan.
Jan's thing, they should have asked Steve Miller. I think Steve Miller's band was one of the really great rock and roll bands
He's not going
of
the
that
speed limit now. I will say that.
But a really good rock and roll band. And from what I
think he's
understand,
anticipating a red light or something, but
a very good band leader, which I'm not surprised about, because his records were very pristine, beautiful.
50 years of, he did a special for us. Came in with an acoustic guitar, different arrangements of like big old jet airliner. And he said the same thing you said. He goes, this song that it's taken on a completely different meaning.
Yeah, that's true.
And I said, wow, that's unbelievable. And he's a lot like you. He talks about bits and pieces that he has of songs, and that he kind of edits them together. And it was so, I'm not shocked to hear that you like him so much as an artist, because he thinks a lot like you.
I think, talking about underrated, he's really underrated.
Yeah.
I can't believe the amount of traffic heading this way. This is actually,
and how
I don't have a word for it, it's stupid. It's
It's
really stupid, the amount of traffic coming this way.
Rock and roll bands, small bands,
Where they could possibly be coming from, I don't know.
Of rock and roll bands that I like. Different, completely different, but I would put the Allmans probably up there pretty close to the top.
Did you know those guys?
No, I didn't.
I saw them play at the Fillmore East. They opened up for Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and they got booed off the stage. Nobody knew who they were. It was the saddest thing you ever want to see.
I could think of sadder things, but I take your word that they were booed off the stage.
It's crazy. And
they were a great band. Did you see them when Dwayne was in the band?
It was the original band. It was their early years.
That's great.
Dwayne was some guitar player.
Yeah, he was.
Just amazing.
He was. But where were we?
We were talking about your guitar work and stuff, but I'm also talking about some of your influences too. I mean, listen,
really
we're all over
we
the
can
place,
make
but
it.
as long as we're talking about influences, I mean, we could talk about this. Mr. Lee.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
You love this.
Well, I'll tell you something about this. Well, first of all, I loved this record when I was a kid. So, but during the pandemic, when Edie and I were doing little, like, home tapes of things,
These people that
for
are turning onto Wonderland Road, so they've driven past Hyde Park Road, which is 90 kilometers an hour, so it's 10 kilometers an hour faster then sorry, somebody's got their radio turned way up. It's 10 kilometers an hour faster than Wonderland Road, completely straight, has one stop compared to 3. Are you turning? Oh, now you're turning. If I knew you were turning, I would have... Oh, you idiot. And that's the thing, I get frustrated when people do what you just saw right there, and the only person that has to be accountable for their decision is me. They're not accountable at all. They just carry on in their merry way and they're fine. Their decision made no impact on their drive or anything. But here I am sitting there waiting because they don't have a turn signal on when I could have just turned. Yeah, it's only like 10 seconds, but that's my 10 seconds. I get to decide what I do with it, not them. Not because of a stupid decision that they made. But anyways, these people coming down Wonderland Road, so they had to drive past Hyde Park Road. Hyde Park Road's 10 kilometers an hour faster than this road and has one possible stop on it compared to 3 guaranteed stops. And these two idiots are just in cahoots. They have no idea where they're going. Unbelievable. In rush hour too, look at the traffic that we're dealing with here. When you're pulling moves like this, man. But yeah, Hyde Park Road has one possible stop, and I say that because it's a traffic light, whereas this one you have 3 guaranteed stops on it. So why you're coming down here, I don't know. Ilderton Road had the set of traffic lights installed, and it was installed because of those people right there, people that were cutting through and have no business being there. I live on this road. My destination is this road.
And he was a musician who studied music, he read music, and he could play all kinds of music, which is, as he said to me, that's how we were trained. So we could play a foxtrot, and we could play a tango, or we could play whatever, a Charleston, or whatever was that. That's what musicians were, sort of. That's how he was trained anyway. So for him, listening to he said, the same chord structure all the time.
Was he encouraging to you when you started to play the guitar, or was he...
He bought me my first guitar.
But was he encouraging? Was he supportive of you?
Yes, he was. He said...
and now we miss
don't
this
be a
light
musician.
Because we missed the other light.
Make your career a musician. But,
just pointing that out too.
But learn how to
because
play.
of people's driving
and
impeding
you can work your way
as identified by the Highway Traffic
Act. You don't have to be a waiter if you want. But don't be a musician. And my mother said, don't be a musician. It's terrible for your wife. She's never can go out on a Saturday night or New Year's Eve or something like that.
And
Well,
that's
no
that
family back
asshole
then
pickup
wanted their
truck
kids
right
to be
there.
an artist.
So we can start counting now.
You're going to be
1
broke. You're going to live a
1,000,
hard life.
2 1,000,
It wasn't even
3 1,000,
conceivable
4
that
1,000,
someone would
5
be an
1,000,
artist.
6
Right.
1,000,
Not-
7 1,000,
not within
8 1,000, 9 1,000.
the culture that I grew
10
up in,
1,000,
the
11
term
1,000.
artist.
Don't you
12
thank God
1,000,
that you
13
had the
1,000,
wherewithal
14,
from somewhere, who knows
15
what,
1,000,
to stick
16
with it and
1,000,
to see yourself in the
17
music
1,000,
business?
18
I
1,000,
mean,
19
You know,
1,000,
I don't know. I always
20
thought I Am a
1,000,
Rock is
21
about your father,
20,
not about you.
20,
It isn't. I don't know
24,
what it's
so about
about, but it
24
isn't about
seconds.
him. There are
That
some songs that
idiot
are
in
about
the
my
pickup
father,
truck
but
saved by
Like that
passing
one?
like an idiot.
I'm a rock, I'm an island.
No, I
And
wrote
if you
that
just go
song.
the ways that you're
and
supposed to go,
that's just when I used to write acoustic things and
you know,
play little
and put a little
play
bit of
little
thought into where you're
licks to start
driving
it
and how
off.
you're getting there, you're good. But obviously these people
I wrote that song when I was living in England. So I don't know what it was about. Just a kind of post-adolescent angst, I guess,
See, you talk about songs becoming something. To me, that might be your most meaningful lyric. And I've said it, I don't think there's a better lyricist on this planet than you. I Am a Rock. I think of my father. I couldn't get through to him. I couldn't connect with the man. He gave me nothing.
Well, that's a perfect example of the listener completes the song.
Your song,
That
I Am
becomes a
Rock.
very meaningful song to you because of your relationship to your father, and that song, shines a light on that relationship, and you interpret it about.
Oh.
I guess you're interpreting it as about him.
Yeah, I am a rock, I'm an island, and a rock feels no pain, and an island never cries.
So he was a distant guy to you. Is that what you're saying?
He had so much trauma in his life that it was just safer for him not to show anything.
But you came to that realization much later, I would guess, huh?
Absolutely, after a lot of therapy. I mean, yeah. And then I said, oh, I Am a Rock is about Paul's father.
Right, it isn't. But that's fine. It's fine. It could be. It could have been. But as it happens, it wasn't. I'm sure there are a bunch of songs of mine that are about, let's see, I can think of two immediately, but they're not well-known songs at all. One of them is called on the Hearts and Bones album, which was my first solo album that was not a hit.
Right.
It had a lot of good songs on it, but none of them were hits.
I wonder when they're going to fire up these
And
traffic
I wrote
lights.
a song
I'm
called
hoping that they don't fire up these traffic lights. But as you can see, absolutely nobody on the left side and 2 people on the right side. So it looks like a real good use of resources, money, taxes, all that kind of stuff to put in a traffic light that no one's going to use. And by the way, the Crescent Franklin Way on the left-hand side only has 14 houses on it, but those houses are $4 or $5 million, so guess what? But what I'd like to point out is who's up at the front of the line on the left-hand side there? It's that idiot pickup driver again. So now you're back to 0. So you passed 2 vehicles, passed one unsafely, and now you're back at square one. All you've gained is, really by the time we start moving, you've gained about a second, maybe 2. I'll give you that. You've gained a second or maybe 2. Because you passed stupidly, and you took a route that was much, much slower and more tedious than what you needed to. I don't know how else to describe it.